Hi everybody, it's Dr. David Gustaitis here. I'm going to talk to you today about stress. And part of our series this month on stress relates to how stress affects you. And one of the ways that we're going to talk about today is how stress can destroy you physically. And what I mean by that is that over time, if you let stress continue to become chronic, where it's something that it doesn't just come and go because you had a stressor or a threat or a fight or flight situation, but it continues, it persists because the stressor in your life doesn't go away, then that can have devastating effects on your body, on your health physically. For me personally, my motivation for sharing this topic, along with many others, is because it had a direct and personal impact on my life. So when about 5 years ago, I had a really severe, stressful phase in my life, and the fact that it was going on for a long time started to build up in my body. And little did I know that I was dealing with this, because I tend to be somebody who adapts and copes pretty well, and I just can put things aside and move forward. And I hear a lot of my patients talk this way too, like, oh, that doesn't slow me down, or it doesn't stop me from doing anything, whether it's pain or stress or some health concern. They just keep going because a lot of people are very strong mentally, or they're driven mentally because they know, first of all, they need to provide for their family, or they want to just achieve something, or they want to keep doing what they love to do. And I had that similar attitude. And what I found, sadly, but I also found shockingly, that I was developing some of the negative effects that I'm going to talk to you today of what chronic stress can do to your body. So if you think about it, if you're in a fight or flight situation, you're just trying to survive. You're going to do everything you can to try to put all the energy of your body towards survival. Nothing else matters. We're not trying to grow muscle anymore. We're not trying to run your other systems that require energy. All the energy goes towards fighting or fleeing. So getting away or eliminating the threat. And in order to do that, the body will take the blood sugar that's available. It'll break down the stored sugar in your liver and in your muscles and mobilize that to use in the muscle cells. It'll take the fats that are stored and start to mobilize them. And it'll even break down muscle. Hear that. It'll break down your muscle if necessary in order to throw all that energy on the fire in order to run your engine and to run your machine so that you can keep fighting or fleeing. And that has big consequences in terms of breaking down your muscle over the long term. It can also inhibit your ability to repair injuries. So when your joints are injured and they require attention, they require energy, they require the cells to be able to congregate and build that bridge again where the bridge is out. So if the tissues were torn and broken at a sprained ankle or a rotator cuff injury, that's maybe it's not surgical, but it's kind of intermediate. You're like, oh, is it surgical or is it something that my body can do? Well, these kind of chronic things don't go away because your body is in chronic stress, and therefore it doesn't build the bridge again because those cells are distracted or sent away to go do other jobs. That's another thing I want to point out. And chronically elevated stress raises your cortisol level. Cortisol is your chronic stress hormone. And if that is chronically elevated, there's a pro-inflammatory chemical messenger called interleukin-6 or IL-6. And you don't have to memorize that, but I won't have a quiz for you later. I'd love to. I love quizzing my patients on some of these things. But what I want you to understand is interleukin-6, once that's turned on, it's pro-inflammatory. It means it increases inflammation, and it promotes a whole lot of other things that are not good and are actually devastating to our health if left unchecked. I'll make a list of those. One of them is blood clotting. Antibodies towards yourself called autoantibodies. That can lead to autoimmunity, like I developed. Overall, a less regulated immune system. Low blood iron levels, which can lead to anemia of inflammation, okay? Increased joint swelling and inflammation, along with increased osteoporosis and risk of fracture. Increased fibrosis and or scar tissue formation. So when the body is in higher levels of inflammation, those cells that are are roaming around or trying to repair things, but they're not necessarily repairing them in an organized way. Scar tissue, as you know, maybe from a cut on your skin, you see how scar tissue is not the same quality tissue as the original tissue. So when we have excess fibrosis or scar tissue formation, we get a kind of a hodgepodge patchwork to repair things, not a more careful or not a more effective remodeling of that original injured tissue. So that's another chronic type of injury, chronic type of problem related to chronic stress. Just overall, just the essence of what stress does, it's not any one single event, like, oh, stress led to this one thing. It's really more like little by little, a little bit less effective over here, a little less repair over there, and subtly over time, the roof caves in, and that's kind of what happens with people's health. And it's something that's not, you're not going to get a warning sign like, oh, if you keep this up for one more day or one more week, that's when the roof is going to cave in. It's kind of a surprise, kind of a shock. People get this wake-up call that they realize, oh, I thought I was just coping fine. I thought I was adapting to my chronic stress. And all of a sudden they end up in the ER with a heart attack, or they end up on the floor with a heart attack. That or a cancer diagnosis or a stroke or, diabetes, other chronic problems that can result from chronic stress experience. And I really encourage you to take stress seriously and to take a proactive approach rather than waiting to react to some problem, some chronic illness and or diagnosis. So the video series that we're going to be laying out for you this next month and a couple of months, please pay attention. Please learn as much as you can. Click down below if you have any questions or would like some help in addressing your chronic stress. We'd be happy to help you.